Hello students, in this video I'm going to go over the reflections that you're going to do for week 1, chapters 1, 2, and 3. So if you click on assignments, you will see your assignments all here. What you'll have here is chapters 1, 2, and 3 as well as submissions for the psych res and extra credit. But we're just going to focus on chapters 1, 2, and 3 reflections and what you have to do. Remember, the due date for all of them is the same time. There just isn't enough time to do all of them at once. So you can, work on all of them on Fridays and then turn them in all on Friday, or slowly do them throughout the week, however you want to do. So let me show you chapter 1. Okay. So this reflection has 2 short questions. You can write about a page and a half, 1 to 1/2 page. You don't really have to do very much for them. They're mostly to get you started and feel like, okay, like I know what I'm doing. And I actually want you to do this I know they're not due till Friday, but if you can get it to me by Wednesday, you will get 2 bonus points. Up to 2 bonus points for doing that. This is to encourage you to get it early and to just have one in the books, and so I can feel really happy. Okay, so what you're gonna do is basically make that plan. So if you look at the syllabus, there's that ideal week. So your job is to create your own weekly schedule for how you're going to do the course based on whatever's going on with you. So if you are going on a long weekend holiday, how are you going to do all your work? If you have a work schedule where you're working in the night, how are you going to make sure that you do this during the day? What are you going to do? How are you going to plan it out? So really planning that out, how your ideal week's going to go. Sometimes things happen, but at least planning out when you're going to complete all the stuff based on the ideal week in the syllabus. Okay? So basically create that and turn that in. Then the second part of this is to talk about the cross-cutting integrative themes for intro psych. So choose 1 or 2 of those themes and describe why they're interesting to you and what are some strategies to use those themes to engage with and master the material. And then you'll turn it in, and there's a rubric here, and these will be the same rubrics for all of them. Basically, they're 15 points. You get 12 points for basically understanding the material, completing the task, and answering all the questions. It goes from 0 to 12 in terms of unacceptable, like it's plagiarized or it's missing, to yes, you gave it a try, but that's not right. To, oh my gosh, this is awesome, where you get full credit. And then the other 3 points of the 15 is just clarity, style, presentation, depending on the different assignments, like how clear are you, like how nice is your writing, can I understand it, are you presenting yourself well. So that's a 0 to it's just garbage or missing, or plagiarized, to amazing. So hopefully most students get very goods on these, so that would get you around a 13 or 14 out of them. So okay, so that's how you do that. All right, so let's look at chapter 2. All right, so this one is designing a study. So what you are going to do for chapter 2 is learning about different psychological studies and methods within that. Make sure to read all this. This reflection has several parts. So make sure to include responses for every question so that you can get all the credit. So especially to write at least 1 to 2 pages. You can write more, but you don't need to write. You want to write at least a page. There's no limit, but you probably don't need more than 3. Make sure to turn this in as a PDF or Google Doc, please, or Doc. Don't turn in a Google Doc because oftentimes I can't get it, and if I can't get it, it's late until I get it back. So, and make sure you can proofread and that your ideas are clear. Sometimes when you're thinking about a study, it can be really difficult to express your ideas clearly. Okay, so what you're going to do is describe a question related to human behavior that you'd like to see answered. or a problem you'd like to be solved. So it could be like, how do we get more people to recycle? Or how do we get people to stop believing misinformation on social media? Or how do we get people just to be happier and not be depressed all the time, or whatever it is. So it can be any kind of question that you're interested in. Then think about how you, as a scientist, would design a study that would actually address the problem, solve the problem, or understand it, okay? So what you would do is describe the type of method. Now this is part of chapter 2, explains all of this. What is your hypothesis? What are some of your variables, independent and dependent? What are your operational definitions? So if you're thinking like, how do we get people to recycle more? Well, what does it mean to recycle? How do you define recycle? Is it putting it in the recycle bin, or is it not putting it in the trash? Like, what is your definition? You want to be really, really clear about what you mean. Okay. Now the thing is, you're brand new to psych, so you're not going to be designing the Nobel Prize winning study in this assignment. So the study might have some flaws. So think about, so the idea is more just to get you practice with some of these difficult terms, and to think about how difficult it is to study human behavior scientifically. And so think about some of these flaws. And some of the challenges, and they could be logistical challenges, practical challenges. Just kind of talk about how okay, well, if I define recycling in this very narrow term, maybe it's not going to be generalizable. Okay. Cost, or just controlling for things, because how are you going to control your variables? And then the last part is to reflect on the process and think about what you learned from doing this, including some of the integrative themes that you'd like to know more about. So like what kind of aspects are you interested in? So the rubric's the same rubric for all of them in terms of showing that you understand the concept. So so that means that you can, one way of doing this super clear for me is like a hypothesis, like defining the terms that you're using. Just put the definition in there as well as using those correctly. Okay. All right, so that's chapter 2. Chapter 3 is this is sort of a brain game activity. So chapter 3 is kind of an awful chapter in some ways because there's so much information. It's information overload, all the neuroanatomy. If you haven't taken psych before, if you haven't taken bio before, this can be just too much information all at once. So one way of trying to make it more fun to learn is to create an activity or some other thing that sort of helps you to study. But not just flashcards. Like flashcards are fine, but we want to kind of go beyond and be a little more creative and apply the material in some other way. So just make them less like arbitrary, more accessible, and more memorable. So what you're going to do is create some kind of activity that you can use to help remember both the location, like where is it in the brain, and what does it do for these brain areas. So these are the ones we want: the 4 lobes, the amygdala, the hippocampus, thalamus, hypothalamus, and corpus callosum. There are other basal ganglia, other stuff too, but you can include those if you want. These are the ones that are going to be like the ones that I want you to really feel good about having remembered at the end of this course. So what you can do, you can make an actual game, like roll the dice. Like you can get creative, spend many hours designing it. Maybe you just have a lot of time over the summer to do this. You could do a rhyme, a poem, a rap, or some other kind of mnemonic device. You could relate it to some activity. I have this JPEG, sort of your brain on yoga, where it kind of shows you, if you're doing yoga, what areas of the brain get active in different parts of your brain. So you could do something like that for an activity that you really like. So maybe it's soccer. You can say your brain on soccer. So your occipital lobe is where you're gonna see the ball, and your temporal lobe is where you're gonna recognize that it's a ball, and your parietal lobe is gonna help you navigate in the location of the ball, and your frontal lobe is going to help you make decisions about whether to go left or right, or whether to pass, and your hypothalamus is going to regulate all of your thirst and hunger, so you know when to take a break and drink, and your corpus callosum is going to help decide which part of like your left and right, and send information from both sides of the brain. So you can kind of do something like that. You see how I got that done, and like you know, a little bit, I know this material much better, but you can sort of do something like that. You could create a video like TikTok. You can make something artsy. So when you turn it in, you can just turn in a link to the video if it's something like that. You can take a photo or a screenshot. As long as I am able to see what you're doing. I really don't want you to just like do flashcards. Sometimes that's what people do. And it's important. Sometimes people just focus on the function, but not where it is. Like I did with the soccer thing, I didn't say where any of those things are. So you would want make a picture of the brain and then just like say like how it works. So that is how that goes. Okay, those are the 3 things. And if you are running into some issues, questions, concerns, please reach out and ask me.